Welcome to the Leela Life Show. I am your host, Linda Andrews, and it is an absolute honor to be with you today. I hope this finds you well wherever you are. I'd like to start today's show with a few moments of some guided breath work. And if you don't want to do this, fast forward, but please join me if you want to close your eyes. I will. And if you're driving, don't close your eyes. All right, these are grounding gratitude breaths following the heart math rhythm, 4 in, 6 out. And so if you would join me, inhaling through your nose for a 4 count and exhaling 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll do two more just like that. Inhaling and exhaling. Last one, embracing a spirit of gratitude, feeling gratitude for whatever is right now for you. Inhaling and exhaling. Awesome. And I hope you get whatever you need from today's show. So, like seasons, everything in life and business, your world is constantly changing. Sometimes we resist those changes, and your body, your spirit, there's something inside of you that may be speaking to you. Sometimes this comes through fatigue, tension, restlessness. And so, are you paying attention to those signals? It's easy to think, I have a problem, I have a problem, I have a problem, right? There's a problem to fix. Your body is not a problem to fix. I've faced this, right? I've mentioned in the past, I've struggled with headaches. And so there's this signal from my body, and it can feel like there's a problem I need to fix. But really, am I listening? What's underneath that? What is telling me something that if I pay attention to and make those adjustments could help the tension subside? And so, seeing where in your life, your lifestyle, your leadership, what is ready to evolve in your life, and are you listening to these signals? So, absolutely, this is not medical advice. This is not investment advice now or ever, right? But I am inviting you to cultivate awareness, cultivate your different alignment within your lifestyle, and absolutely developing trust. Often we hear 90% of what can throw us off track, right? This is lifestyle. Those modifications can absolutely help change you and get you into a healthier, more thriving alignment. And there is sometimes, right? There's certain things we're born with, but there's often a lot more that is in our control than is not in our control. So are you paying attention to your feedback loop? And I do think we live in a time where it's very easy to outsource everything, right? What does this expert say? What does this expert say? What does this expert say? And I'm not saying that the experts are bad necessarily. Some potentially could be, right? But what I am saying is that you are your number one expert first. And are you putting yourself out of that position and giving that power to other people? This is just something to consider. Where in that hierarchy are you sitting in your deep intimacy with yourself? Or are you letting that seat number one be overridden, right? And somebody else is swooping in, or many different people are swooping in. And so that's just something even within this awareness practice to paying attention. Who has more power over you than you, and can there be some different adjustments? So sometimes your body may be saying slow down. You may feel tired, anxious, wired, but you got to do more. You got to do more. You got to do more, right? Our culture is very much this, and normalizing ignoring these signals, right? I love caffeine, right? Give me another coffee, please. But right when it's like too much, probably part of the headaches. Anyway, the pressure, right? I can handle more. I can handle more. I'll reset later. I'll sleep later. I'll rest later. Your body is definitely whispering before it's shouting. And a friend of mine, right, she would say, God speaks first in a whisper, then in a normal talking voice, and then he's yelling. And so, where on that spectrum are you listening to yourself, listening to that God voice, listening to intuition, whatever that deep intimacy is? Where on that spectrum of whisper, normal voice, shout are you tuning in, dialing in, and not just hearing it, but then making those changes? And you're getting some kind of data. This is feedback, the feedback loop, listening to this feedback loop. And the earlier that you listen, the quicker you can get those lifestyle modifications in place. This can course correct versus the massive corrections that may be made later. I'm not a big fan of the don't die phenomenon, right? If you follow Brian Johnson at all, it's not that I'm not a fan of him. I find him fascinating. I like aspects of what he's doing. You know, I see a lot of benefit in the superfoods work that he's doing. I mean, there's a lot of great that he's doing, but this like die, uh, and maybe I'm just not there, right? Like technologically, but I just think we are human and we do die, right? Anything dies. It's like a part of the natural rhythm of the natural cycle. So when you get to that point of denying the natural rhythms of life, I'm just a little bit skeptical. Uh, but I think that my point in sharing this is the point to not die, right? I think the point is, can you live with as much vitality right now? Can you be fully alive in your right now? And there's so much each of us can do to tap into that. And I talk about change a lot. Usually the glimpses into this can be more pervasive when you're going through change, right? Because when you're not in a huge change, which the misnomer is everything is changing all the time, but just stick with me, right? These big monumental moments, these huge life-shifting moments, career, relationship move, right? These are some of the big three: children, death, divorce. There's a full spectrum of change that can be happening. And usually before the change point, you could be in the flow or in the grind of things and not have as much room to make the adjustments. And so, as brutal as the changes can be, I do believe that there is an absolute miracle, an absolute gift for you because you get some space from what has been to make these adjustments. And you may already know what the things are that can help you. I have a lot of practices that I do. You may imagine that. And you know, they help me. I don't know what to say, right? Daily meditation, daily breath work, daily morning pages. I do face cold plunges. There is a funny kind of joke video. It was like from 4 to like 10 a.m. of all the morning routine. And it's like, ah, now I'm starting. Right? You have to find your own balance point of life and your role and your responsibilities and how this all fits and clicks together. But you may know these little inklings, like if I just was a little bit more consistent with this, my life would feel better. And I don't know if I had shared this yet. It was like the past 6 months I've been doing sunrise, sunset, and making sure to be outside as close to solar noon, which is not noon, as I can be. And I had seen a neurologist talking about this, and because of, say, the migraines I had mentioned, I was like, oh, you know, what's this guy got to say? And he's talking about how you can heal your eyesight. And literally doing this 6 months, go to the eye doctor, my eyes improved. I was shocked, you know, and I'm doing this because I believe in what this guy says and that my eyes can improve. And then when it really happens, like, whoa, this stuff works, right? And so a lot of these decisions that you're making and the consistency that you can make them with the work, it compounds over time. And as you're healing, as your vitality is coming back, right? It's like it steamrolls and it gets better and better with time. It doesn't mean that life's going to be easy or perfect or there won't be challenges, but in this process, your resiliency continues to grow and grow and grow as you grow and grow and grow. And so you're listening, you're getting those little inclinations. I guarantee you have one thing right now that you're like, man, I wish I was doing that every day. And if you did whatever that is, it would make your life a little bit better. All right. So let's dial in. What are some of these signals? Let's think about fatigue, right? Is there over output in your life without enough rest time? Where are you over giving without return? That could be a place to clean up some of this, the over giving, the fatigue, the over output. And then this idea of rest, right? There's so many people that I've talked to. It's like, I feel guilty if I'm resting. And so, can you work through your relationship with rest including sleep. I'm a huge sleep advocate. That's one of the things that I definitely agree with Brian Johnson. It's like the anchor of all of this being sleep. And if you prioritize good, healthy sleep, it does recalibrate everything, right? Getting that bedtime, sticking to that bedtime, everything else has to recalibrate if that becomes the priority, which if you're not sure where to start, I dare you to start with sleep. All right, so thinking about headaches, mental brain fog. That's I like that word. Brain fog. You have mental clutter. Where can I simplify? What can you release? What are you holding on to that you don't need to hold on to? Tension or tightness. You have control or stress stored in your body. Where can you soften? Where can you trust more? Restlessness. Ever feel restless? You have some kind of creative stagnation. What is that connected to? Where's something within you that wants to be moved, that wants to be expressed right now? So those are some common ones. Fatigue, headaches or brain fog, tension, tightness, restlessness as four different categories. And so reviewing within your life, what is that for you? I went through this phase where I had like the most insane pain in my chest. It's like I could never take a full deep breath, right? And like eventually it's like, oh, it's anxiety. And so some of these practices help mitigate that feeling. And it's probably been over a decade since I felt like that, right? And so there may be parts of you that you're not even noticing. How long was it from the first time that I felt that pressure in my chest from when it actually started, right? And that's where that awareness comes in for you to say, oh, whoa, I have a really intense feeling in my chest. But if you don't even know that that's happening because you're not aware, you can't make those adjustments. And so, dialing in, always first step is awareness, and just remembering all of this is just information. This is information. I'm not making a judgment call for you. I invite you to do this work from a neutral, free place. We're not a neutral place. I'm not inviting you to be self-shaming yourself and feeling like you're a horrible person by any means. All right. And everything is changing all the time. And so if something working for one season of your life and it's no longer working or you want to adjust it, you always have the opportunity to revisit your habits, your patterns, and see what can support you for where you're at now. All right. So also considering when I'm talking about lifestyle, how do you eat? How do you move? How do you rest? How do you think? How do you connect? What are some of these lifestyle modifications? Is this working for you? Let's say connection for you is always with alcohol, right? And it's like, oh man, I wish I had more deep connection. Well, that could be a great place to start. I'm not knocking on alcohol necessarily, or just 10% I am. But there's so much of your well-being that is in your control. This does not need to be perfect, right? But it's your conscious, your intention, your ability to influence and change your life. So, again, starting with awareness, do your habits match your priorities and what you are working towards and creating in your life? Are there areas that you're resisting? As nature slows, right? Especially right now, we're coming into winter. Is there more rest? Right? The natural sunset is happening earlier and earlier. Are you sleeping more? Maybe your nourishment shifts. Maybe you have time for reflection. This time of year is great time for reflection, right? And I understand this. This can feel for some people, especially if you're beginning this journey, it's like, oh, this is so indulgent. What if this is you being intelligent? What if this is you being intentional with your resources and slowing down and making some room and getting back in that power position in your life where you've been ping-ponging, responding, right, in all these different ways that may, in the end, really not be serving you? So, where are we at right now? I invite you to take a few moments just scanning your body. What signals are trying to get your attention? Write it down. Is there some small action? It could even include a nap, a walk, a saying no, scheduling that rest, getting some stretching in, and remembering that these small actions then build that awareness, it recalibrates your energy, and through this process, you're becoming a new person. And I think they say every 7 years, you're a completely new person. It's like because of that cellular turnover. So this is happening whether you want it to happen or not. And the more intentional you can be in getting in that power position with the resources that you have, you may be surprised. So let yourself listen to yourself. Let yourself build that intimacy with yourself. I love this when you think of intimacy, into me, I see. And so you may have that with another person, but do you also have that with yourself? Are you allowing yourself to have that authority over your time, energy, attention, and money? Our favorite team acronym. So if you are needing any support in recalibrating your next move, be sure to check out the Leela Life 22-day reset. I'll make sure that there's a link to that in the show notes, leelalife.co/start here. And thank you so much for tuning into the Leela Life Show. Please like, subscribe, share if you find this supportive for you and you are exactly where you need to be. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. And I will see you next time on the Leela Life Show. Thanks again for being here.